Hello, and welcome to the Sham Show, the very first episode. I'm the host, Sabrina Richard. I bring on guests, hostages, whoever I can pull from the hallway and get them for a core time period. With me is the very famous, very wonderful BRG.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
How are you?
I don't know.
They're
not going to respond, but I guess that's just an automatic thing.
We're just going to send out to the universe, how are you?
Yeah, how are you? I hope you're doing well.
I hope you're not
when I ask
dead.
you that question, don't answer me about how productive you are. That's the number one telltale sign of being an American. You answer someone with how productive you are when they ask you how you are. You know that?
Yes. we had this conversation that I was recently in the background of a call. It was like a Bluetooth call in a car. So you end up in the background of it and you're just like, ooh, what details am I going to get to hear about? And I realized that they were only, my mom was like, oh, how are you? And then they only talked about productivity. And
right.
I was like, we're American. What are we doing?
Right. No, it's actually a very common thing. I've actually found it ingrained into myself as well. Sometimes, when this Christmas when I went to Mexico, they'd ask me how I was. And I was, I think, expecting to be, discuss how debate was going or Lantern, et cetera, et cetera. No one cared. No one cared. They don't care about, how productive you were. They care about how you are, and most of the time they're going to describe to you what they actually did throughout their day. Oh, I had this for breakfast, and then they'll go into a 15-minute conversation discussing little things like that, and they'll make everything into a story. It's a little bit boring, but it's a nice break from talking only about productivity the way we would here.
And especially because I'm a sophomore, you're a senior, so you're applying/applied to colleges,
right.
And I'm going on tours
right.
and trying to get my grades up. So a lot of times when we talk with parents or adults, it's a lot of that conversation towards, well, what's next? Are you going to go to college, or what colleges are you looking at?
Right.
So I feel like every conversation I have now is just another college conversation.
Right, especially with adults. It's actually funny. With almost all adults here, the conversation or one of the first questions they'll ask will be where I applied or where I got in, etc. That's one of the first things. And I know it's a well-intentioned thing. I just don't think they understand that sometimes. Teachers don't do this, actually. Just adults, like family friends or whatever. They don't understand that is... It gets annoying when you have to answer that all the time, and sometimes you just don't want to talk about it when everybody does. Interestingly enough, for my friends, it's you'll discuss it to a degree, but there's a point where that caps off and you're not going to talk about it anymore. So I could tell you, some of my friends are interested in, I have one that wanted to apply to Notre Dame and one that applied to Columbia, etc. But other than that, I couldn't go into much detail about it. I don't know. I don't care.
I mean, no one's trying to sell you oh my gosh,
Correct.
you should absolutely...
Correct. No one's trying to sell me where they applied, and I'm not trying to... They probably don't know where I applied. So
Yeah.
Your better question not be where I applied to.
Now, Benjamin, where did you apply to college?
Now, where did you... how are you today? And I'm just going to tell you about all the colleges I applied to.
Perfect. You just start listing them off.
Yeah.
This podcast becomes 2 hours long as you... Yeah.
I'm feeling Harvard today, I don't know.
And tomorrow I shall feel...
Tomorrow I shall feel IU.
Boom. Yeah.
They have a wonderful...
That's a feeling.
Wonderful international school.
Well, now you're selling me on it.
Look at me.
Disgraceful. So, yeah, that's called... We know how podcasts work, I guess. We just talk about things, I guess. While we were walking up here, we had to walk into what's going to be a future podcast studio for A Strike and Bruns. But right now it's the counseling center, so we're in the background of all the counselors, and they're just having their meetings, and we're just over here talking about
in this
colleges.
Meeting room, yeah.
This little meeting room that we borrowed. And while we were walking up here, we were talking about Southern hospitality.
Yes.
Speaking of college, I'm looking at Southern schools because that doesn't fit my personality whatsoever. So I'm looking at Southern schools, and we're talking about bless your heart.
Right.
Yeah. When someone says bless your heart, it's the most passive-aggressive way to say,
right,
go off.
Yes.
Leave.
Yes.
And you were saying Midwesterners.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I am a Southerner, just not that type of Southerner. You know what I mean? I'm actually from the North, but from the South. So only a few will get that joke. Yeah, we were looking at the different ways that even in the United States, people will express themselves, and that's a cultural thing. In the South, I think we stereotypically characterize them as being lesser educated, rude, but they're actually some of the most polite people. When they're mad, they'll say things like "bless your heart" or whatever. They won't.
Or I'll pray for you.
I'll pray for you. Stuff like that. It's passive aggressive, but it's not direct aggressive the way someone from Boston or New York might tell you what they're thinking in a different way. They might use different choice words. In the Midwest, I think, at least in my experience, it's somewhere in between. I think people are actually supposed to be pretty friendly in the Midwest, and I think they are. Most of them won't cuss at you to your face or be angry at you. I think in the Midwest, it's more of that suburban style. You know what I mean? Suburban hospitality.
Passive aggressive Karen-ness, but at the same time, like we're all like super like on a beginner level,
right? Element of Karen, but to a degree, and then there's a point where you just get mad.
And also, like I grew up in a household with a New Yorker Jewish mom, so that's an experience in itself. And so I was taught, be nice, but at the same time, if someone pisses you off, go ahead and throw some choice words at them.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's different. I think it's interesting to see how in some cities they choose their words differently.
Exactly. Than we would. As Julie Andrews said in all of her wisdom, lovely little 4-letter Anglo-Saxon words.
Yeah.
Yeah, love those.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, where I'm from, Mexico, people cuss very much. It's a lot more socially accepted, I guess, but it's like certain curse words the entire country uses, no matter go to church, don't go to church, male, female, it doesn't matter. You use that. There's one word. I'm not going to say it, but there's one word in particular everybody uses.
Thank you.
But there's like a level that's socially a socially drawn line of acceptability.
Yeah.
There's some words where you cross into being vulgar, and that's no longer social. That's like some people maybe with their friends if it's that type of humor, but it's something that isn't socially acceptable. Other words that everybody can use and they don't care.
Like when you stub your toe, like it's like okay to say certain words, but to the point where you're just like throwing them around.
Correct.
Like
or
how I do.
describing somebody in a way. Yes. That would not be, and it's also setting, in a meeting room. Sometimes I think that maybe there's some that are still okay there, but there is definitely a time and a place to use them. But it's funny because I do think, like my cousin when he was like 3, cussed out my grandpa, and my grandpa didn't care. He wasn't offended. Everyone just continues. It's funny because our version of our number one go-to curse word has about 20 different derivatives. It's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I know I watched a speech on it. I know you heard about a speech on it. Or maybe you've like done your own, like, because I watched a speech on the different types of cuss words that we have, and there's vulgarities against the church and vulgarities against the body. Yes. And so in that one, like, it goes both ways. I think we're thinking of the same one. We obviously can't say it.
Yes.
But we're thinking crazy how the first episode we're immediately like, all right, now cussing.
Yes.
But yeah,
it's interesting to see the way that words developed, especially those types of words. But yeah, like you said, there was the ones that came from the Roman bathhouses, and there's the ones that came from, I think, blasphemy in France. Blasphemy, I think that was the point of those.
And that's why we say, that's why you say pardon my French.
Right, because they come from France, yes.
Vulgar people.
Correct.
Oui.
Yeah, it's interesting because I take Mandarin lessons, and when I've seen the bad words, a lot of them, interestingly, involve the word egg. As in an egg, like a chicken egg. Like they actually do involve, which is, I just think that's fascinating because we just talked about how in Europe it's blasphemy or it's
anatomy.
Body anatomy. Yeah. But in Chinese they go back, a lot of them, to an egg.
That's so.
Which I think is so interesting. Like I don't know why. I haven't read about where those words come from, but they come back to that. So I think it's interesting. I know it's maybe something you don't normally discuss about, in a podcast, but I think looking at where these words came from and the way that we developed them is really interesting. I think it's fascinating.
I love that kind of thing, and also bold of you to assume that I know what we're going to do with this podcast. It's just got a name at this point.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I hope that you had a great 10 minutes with us.
Oh, is that it?
I'm going to film a second episode right here, right now.
I don't know, whatever you want.
Let's roll. Thank you for having us.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.